The rise of a queen. In the sprawling, opulent city of Susa, the capital of the Persian Empire, King Ahasuerus Xerxes reigned with absolute power. His palace, a marvel of grandeur and luxury, was the heart of a vast empire that stretched from India to Ethiopia. To showcase his wealth and power, the king hosted a magnificent feast that lasted for 180 days, inviting nobles, officials, and dignitaries from across his realm. At the end of this lavish celebration, the king decided to host a separate feast for people of Susa, both great and small. It was during this feast that Queen Vashti, known for her beauty and grace, was commanded to appear before the king and his guests. But Vashti refused, unwilling to be paraded as a mere ornament. Her defiance enraged the king, and on the advice of his counselors, he deposed her as queen. In the aftermath of Vashti's dismissal, the king sought a new queen. A decree was issued throughout the empire, calling for all beautiful young virgins to be brought to the palace. Among them was a Jewish girl named Esther, who was raised by her cousin Mordecai after the death of her parents. Esther was not only beautiful, but also possessed a quiet strength and wisdom beyond her years. She quickly won the favor of Haggai, the eunuch in charge of the harem, who provided her with the best beauty treatments and assigned her 7 maids from the king's palace. When it was Esther's turn to go before the king, she did not ask for anything except what Haggai advised. The king was immediately taken with her beauty and grace, and he chose her to be his new queen. Mordecai's discovery. Esther's rise to queenship brought her into the inner circle of the Persian court, but she did not forget her people or her upbringing. She kept her Jewish heritage a secret, following Mordecai's instructions to protect herself and her people. Meanwhile, Mordecai, who spent his days at the king's gate, overheard a plot to assassinate the king. He reported the conspiracy to Esther, who in turn informed the king, giving credit to Mordecai. The conspirators were apprehended and executed, and Mordecai's act of loyalty was recorded in the king's chronicles. However, the king, distracted by the affairs of state, did not immediately reward Mordecai. Instead, the matter was set aside, and life in the palace continued as usual. The rise of Haman. Around this time, the king promoted a man named Haman to the position of chief advisor. Haman was a proud and ambitious man, and when he passed through the king's gate, he expected everyone to bow down to him. But Mordecai, faithful to his Jewish beliefs, refused to bow, for he would worship no one but God. Haman's anger burned fiercely against Mordecai, and he resolved to destroy not only Mordecai but all the Jews in the empire. He approached the king and falsely accused the Jews of being a rebellious and disloyal people. He offered the king a large sum of money to issue a decree for their destruction. The king, unaware of the true nature of Haman's intentions, agreed and issued a decree that on the 13th day of the 12th month, all Jews in the empire were to be killed and their property confiscated. Esther's decision. When Mordecai learned the decree, he was filled with grief and despair. He sent a message to Esther, urging her to go before the king and plead for her people. But Esther was afraid, for approaching the king without being summoned was a crime punishable by death. Mordecai sent back a reply that resonated with Esther's sense of duty and courage. Do not think that because you are in the king's house you alone of all the Jews will escape. For if you remain silent at this time, relief and deliverance for the Jews will arise from another place, but you and your father's house will perish. And who knows whether you have not come to the kingdom for such a time as this? Esther, moved by Mordecai's words and her own sense of responsibility, resolved to act. She asked Mordecai to gather all the Jews in Susa to fast and pray for her for 3 days. She and her maids would do the same. After the fast, she would go before the king, even at the risk of her life. The plan and the banquet. Esther, dressed in her finest robes, approached the king's throne. The king, seeing her, held out his golden scepter, granting her permission to speak. Esther invited the king and Haman to a banquet she had prepared. At the banquet, the king asked Esther what her petition was, for he was willing to grant her anything she desired. Esther, biding her time, invited the king and Haman to another banquet the following day. That night, unable to sleep, the king asked for the chronicles of his reign to be read to him. The passage that was read recounted Mordecai's act of loyalty in uncovering the assassination plot. The king, realizing that Mordecai had never been rewarded, asked Haman what should be done for a man whom the king wishes to honor. Haman, thinking the king was referring to him, suggested a grand procession through the city. The king, pleased with the suggestion, ordered Haman to arrange such a procession for Mordecai, the reversal of fortunes. The next day, Haman led Mordecai through the city in a grand procession, his heart filled with humiliation and rage. Later, at Esther's second banquet, the king again asked Esther what her petition was. Esther, with courage and conviction, revealed Haman's plot to destroy her people. The king, filled with anger and remorse, ordered Haman to be hanged on the very gallows he had prepared for Mordecai. The king then issued a new decree, allowing the Jews to defend themselves against their enemies. The Jews, empowered by the king's decree, defeated their attackers and celebrated their victory with feasting and joy. The legacy of Esther. The story of Esther is a powerful tale of courage, faith, and the providence of God. Esther's bravery in the face of danger and her willingness to risk her life for her people have inspired generations. Her story is a testament to the power of one person to make a difference and the importance of standing up for what is right. The events in Susa led to the establishment of the festival of Purim, a time of celebration and remembrance for the Jewish people. Esther's story continues to resonate, reminding us of the enduring power of faith, courage, and the triumph of good over evil.